Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are finally announcing April's theme in the themed Letterboxd 4 series, which is comedies. Now, if you're new to this series, what this is it's a series where each month I'm doing a different theme, and then I'm finding what my Letterboxd 4 is in that theme. Now, each of these themes, they start with, there's two different videos per theme. The one supposed to be at the beginning of the month, this one's obviously way later. So this is the preview, the setup video, and then at the end of the month there is the results, and we kind of finalizing what the final Letterboxd 4 is. But in this video, the preview video, what we're going to do is we're going to first kind of set the ground rules and talk about what it's, the rules, what qualifies, what doesn't qualify, things like that. And then I'm going to give you what my current Letterboxd 4 is, plus 3 films that I haven't seen in a while that I think maybe on a rewatch they might be able to crack into my Letterboxd 4. And then I'm going to give you 3 films that I haven't seen that I'm going to watch this month and see if they have a shot at cracking into that Letterboxd 4. So first, let's go over the rules. Comedy must be the main genre, so films like Parasite, Knives Out, and La La Land, which are comedic at times, are excluded because I classify their main genres as thriller, mystery, and romance respectively. However, films like Novocaine, The Menu, and Deadpool and Wolverine that have multiple genres are eligible because I classify comedy as their main genre. And as a reminder, once a film has been selected for a previous themed Letterboxd 4, it is ineligible in future videos because I want to get some variety in every single video. So that means films like The Apartment and Everything Everywhere All at Once that were in the Best Picture video in January, Black Klansman, which was in the Black History Month video in February, and I, Tonya, which was in the sports video in March, are all excluded. And without further ado, let's take a look at my current Letterboxd 4, 21 Jump Street, Clue, Rat Race, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Now, there was something that was really kind of interesting to me when I was looking at, my Letterboxd and I was figuring out what my favorite comedies of all time are. There's something that was very interesting about this particular list to me. Because a lot of the other videos, let's just take the January video, for example, the Best Picture winners. I felt like I skewed very recency biased in that. And then same with February, I want to say the majority, I'm trying to think if there was any, yeah. I think the furthest back from the February video was like 2018. In the March, the sports video, I want to say Million Dollar Baby might have been the furthest back off the top of my head. I'm trying to, yeah, I think it was. But it's just kind of interesting that for me, and it makes sense for me because you would say, newer into becoming a fan of movies. Like, I had always kind of been watching movies when I was a kid, but it wasn't until about 2019-ish when I really got, in love with cinema and in love with film as an art form. And so, for me, it totally makes sense why maybe I skew a little bit more recency biased. And then you look at comedies, and comedies, because that was, when I was a kid, if I was watching movies, they were comedies. Comedies, for some reason, don't really skew to, the newer comedies for me. A lot of this is there are films that are just kind of, they hold specific, a place in my heart because of where I was or who I was, when I watched them. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, we'll start with that one. That one is one that, even though it is a little bit older, not that it's old, but it's a little older than a lot of the newer stuff that is in the previous videos. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a film that I didn't actually see until might have been 2018-ish or something like that. It wasn't too long ago that I actually saw it for the first time. 21 Jump Street, however, that's a film that I saw for the first time when I was in high school, and I watched it so many times because it was, at that point, it felt like the funniest movie I'd ever seen. I absolutely love 21 Jump Street, and the more and more I watch it, the more and more I love it. I feel like it's one of the perfect comedy. I love 21 Jump Street. The next two I think are kind of interesting. Clue, I think, is kind of considered a classic for a lot of people, but for me, that is one of those films that, when I was a kid, that was one of my family's films. We watched that as a family. We watched it multiple times as a family. I just have fond memories of being a kid watching Clue. I just love that film. The next one is Rat Race, which is a film that I don't know how many people actually have even seen. And for a lot of the people that have seen it, I know it's not particularly a lot of people's favorite, but for me, that is another one of those films that, because it is my growing up, that was a movie that my family watched all the time. That was just a film that that we loved as a family, and so I just have great memories with that film. And it's one that I've seen it multiple times, and it's one of those films that it's it's probably like the lowest rated movie on Letterboxd that I gave a 5 star. I want to say it's below a 3 on Letterboxd, but I truly just love it. It's one of those quotable comedies for me that, again, I just have a great admiration for that film just because of like watching it as a kid with my family, it being one of those films that's like, and there's another thing that I had a discussion with a buddy one time where we were talking about that. There was a film he was showing me that he just loved, and I remember thinking it was okay, but I came to this realization that I'm like, you love it because this was like your family's film when you were growing up. You guys watched this as a family and you loved this film, and that's really cool that you have that connection to that film that I don't necessarily have. But Rat Race is one of those films that I think I'll always forever have a connection with that film, even though I don't think a lot of other people will, but I truly love it. And then taking a look at the three contenders: Hot Rod, Jojo Rabbit, and Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And now finally we have Jojo Rabbit, which is the first film from 2019 on that finds itself onto this list. And this is one of those, like, from that was like the year that I was really started to go into the movies a ton and I've just fell in love with cinema. And Jojo Rabbit was one of those films for me where I hadn't seen like Hunt for the Wilder People or anything else Taika Waititi at that point. Like I hadn't even seen Ragnarok. And so I just kind of fell in love with Taika Waititi as a director. His comedic timing in that I think is at top notch in Jojo Rabbit, and then the amount of heart that's in that film as well. Truly, just I love Jojo Rabbit. Now, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is kind of a fun film in the sense that it shows that, you know, I do love a good, you know, horror comedy, but Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is interesting in the sense that I feel like every horror comedy, I would classify them as horror films first. Like that is their main. So things like Scream, like I wouldn't include in this list because I consider it a horror film before comedy. Like that's not the main genre. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is kind of the weird horror comedy where I think it's a comedy first and foremost. Like that is clearly what it is it's a comedy that has some horror elements like kind of sprinkled in, but for the most part it is a comedy. So I think it's just really kind of fun to get that kind of represented in the list. And then for Hot Rod is a fun film that's another one of those childhood super quotable comedies, right? But Hot Rod I just always have a fond memory of because I'd heard it was so many people had always talked about Hot Rod. They love Hot Rod. It's this amazing film. And I just hadn't seen it forever. And then I finally saw it. I saw it for the first time the day that I got my wisdom teeth taken out. And so I was kind of just like a little loopy and just kind of out of it all day. And so I watched it and thought it was so funny, but I kind of just like was kind of in and out of it. And so later that day I remember liking it but didn't really, you know, remember a whole ton. So I watched it again, and I want to say that day that I got my wisdom teeth taken out I watched it 3 or 4 times, and then the next day I watched it a couple more times. Like it just, that was the film that got me through the pain of, you know, getting the wisdom teeth taken out that day. And ever since, you know, anytime I throw it on I always have a great time with Hot Rod. It's just a fun film. And then let's move on to the 3 films I haven't seen: Blazing Saddles, Superbad, Tropic Thunder. And I kind of went with like a little bit of a theme here, I guess, in the 3 films that I haven't seen, these 3 comedies. And it's kind of a little bit more inappropriate or raunchy, these R-rated comedies that there's the debates on whether they would be made today or if they're problematic or things like that. Things that, you know, for me wouldn't necessarily be, you know, I guess we'll see when I watch them, if I agree that maybe they're pushing it a little too far or they aren't, you know, the most appropriate, you know, a film. But for me they're comedies that I have heard great things about, and, you know, I'm willing to, you know, watch these films that, you know, maybe are pushing the boundaries a little bit and go outside other people's comfort zones, and for me to just see if that's something that I'm still okay, you know, with the comedy and with the film. And again, these are just 3 films that, from like my friends that have seen, I guess honestly, none of my friends have seen Blazing Saddles. That's not one that I've really heard, you know, like in person with friends. That's just kind of an online thing that I've heard people talk about. But like Superbad and Tropic Thunder are films that I should have seen by now, like just these type of comedies that I just haven't seen yet. So I'm really super excited to take a look at those. Just as a reminder, these 10 films that I just named, I'm going to watch all of these this month, but I'm also going to watch as many others as I can. The plan is, if you've seen any of the previous videos, I want to say I usually get around 20 to 30-ish films that kind of, you know, that we talk about in those the final videos, those final breakdowns. And again, even though we are already kind of a couple weeks into April, I have already been watching some of these films, so I'm already in a good rhythm, a good routine to have a good selection of films to talk about in the results video. These are just the 10 that I'm guaranteeing that I'm going to watch, but again, I'll watch a whole lot more. And that's it. let me know down below in the comments what some of your favorite comedies are, and if you put any suggestions in there, I'll do my best to make sure that I'm getting around to them this month and watching them, because again, like I said, I want to watch as many different comedies as I can. So just let me know that down below in the comments. And again, the plan for this video, because I'm posting this so late, I want to post the results video probably around May 10th is kind of the plan. If I can post that results video around May 10th, then once we get to the May video, I can get back on track and post that video kind of right at the beginning of June, and get the series back on the track, as we've kind of fallen off a little bit due to the Oscars and stuff like that. So that is the plan, is the results video coming out around May 10th. So yeah, again, just let me know all of your thoughts in the comments down below, your favorite comedies of all time, and I'll make sure to check some of those out. And if you would like to like this video and then subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos in this series, I would greatly appreciate it, and have a great day.